I found this small side table at the Goodwill bins for $2.99 at least a year ago and didn't know what I was going to do with it. Well, I finally figured it out and I'm going to turn this into a porch planter box. I only need the legs from this table and this thing was completely falling apart anyways. Once I got the spindle legs off the table, I sanded them down and painted them with drop cloth by Dixie Belle. I wanted to fill in all of the holes on the legs, so I grabbed a dowel that fits snugly in the hole, added some wood glue, and pushed the dowel in. And then I took this flexible dovetail saw to cut the dowel off right at the base. I did have to touch up a few spots of paint from the saw, but repeated this on all of the legs. Next, I've had this cabinet drawer in my stash for a while. It was in a kitchenette in my basement that my husband and I ripped out, but I held on to a few drawers and cabinet doors for projects. This is going to be the base of my planter, and I removed the drawer face. I actually got this idea from Pinterest. I love recreating things I find on Pinterest. That's definitely my #1 source of inspiration for video ideas. I'm going for a modern look with this project, so I'm taking some more of this pole wrap to cover the sides. In last week's video, I forgot to mention I got this pole wrap from Home Depot. I had some questions about that, so I will link it below for you. But I want the front of the drawer to be the long side rather than the short side, which is why I had removed that original face. This stuff is very easy to cut by hand. To cut lengthwise between the slats, you can use a utility knife. And to cut the width, you can use a miter box. To attach the pole wrap, I used a combination of E6000 and hot glue for that instant hold. Just don't mix these glues when you do something like this, or you will break down the E6000 bond, which will definitely not hold up over time. Now I need to add the spindle legs to the drawer. I used my drill to add a pilot hole into the drawer and then down through the legs so the wood doesn't split. And then I used these wood screws to attach the legs. Here's how it's looking so far. The front is blank because now I need to add that on. I have this cabinet door that was also in my basement and I want to cut it down, but I want to keep this ridge detail around the edges. So to get the cleanest cut, I'm going to use my table saw. I measured the area up to where I wanted the cut and set my saw guide. I did have to reset this a few times to make sure I cut exactly where I had wanted, and then I painted the cabinet in the same drop cloth color. Before I add the cabinet drawer, I want to give it some design. So I'm using this magnolia transfer from Dixie Belle and cut out the large magnolia flowers and leaves from one of the sheets and figured out the placement for them. This is my first time using transfers in a large scale project. I wanted the leaves to look like they were coming from behind the flowers. So I tried a few different methods to get that look. I honestly don't know which method I prefer. If you have any tips for getting a layered look, please let me know in the comments. Help a girl out. But I first tried cutting the leaves down to line up with the flower. That didn't work perfectly. So I tried layering the leaf down first and then placing the flower on top. But you could see the leaf under since it was a lot darker. I ended up going over the edges with sandpaper very lightly because I don't want this to look distressed. I just wanted the two transfers to blend together. I was only going to put the large pieces on, but I thought it was looking a little too plain, so I grabbed some of the branches and smaller flowers to add on as well, and I am obsessed with how this box is coming together. It is so stunning. Once all the transfers are on, I'm taking Dixie Belle clear coat to seal it. This clear coat is quickly becoming one of my all-time favorites. It dries so fast, so smooth, and I'm really enjoying it. If only it weren't so expensive, I would be using this on everything. Now I can attach the cabinet to the drawer using tight bond wood glue. I did stack some wood on top while the glue dried. I want to put a handle on the drawer so it looks even more like a dresser drawer planter and found this one at Hobby Lobby. It fits the vibe of this project so perfectly. It was originally $9.99, but I did get it on half off day for about $4.50. Next, I added these large decorative tacks to the four corners. The color is antique brass, which matches the handle so well. So I thought I was done, but decided it needed a shelf. The legs looked a little long for my liking, so I ended up taking the legs back off so I could add a dowel. Since I had already filled in the original holes, I didn't want to drill them back out, so I drilled a new hole a little bit higher up and then glued the dowel into the hole and painted it. Then for the shelf, I glued a piece of the pole wrap to a thin piece of plywood. I did not secure the shelf to the dowel, so it is removable, but I'm so glad I added this last little detail. I just have 2 plants set in here for staging because I am giving this project to my mom. That way she can plant whatever she wants in it. Today I am joining my friend Brandi from the DIY Struggles series called Makeover May. Each week in the month of May, there will be a new creator in a different decor style. This week our style is modern, and I will link the playlist in my description box in case you missed any of the previous videos for colorful or distressed weeks. There will also be a $30 Amazon gift card giveaway each week. Answer both Brandi and the co-host question in the comments by May 30th and check Brandi's channel on May 31st to find the winners. Come back next week to see who the last mystery co-host is for Farmhouse Week. I love learning new techniques and bringing you guys along, so for this project I'm going to be working with glass in a way I haven't done before. I found these 12 by 12 glass sheets at Hobby Lobby and thought the rib detail was such a modern look, but I need to cut the glass down to the size I want. This was super intimidating at first, but it's actually really easy to do. The tool I'm using to cut my glass is this pistol grip glass cutter, which has a tiny tungsten carbide wheel and the empty chamber where you put the glass cutting oil. I'm going to show you on a scrap piece of glass how this works and how easy it is. You place the wheel at the edge of your glass, push down but not too hard, let the cutter do the work, and glide across the surface. This is going to score the glass, and you want to hear that scratching sound. Then to break the glass, you use these running pliers. They have a U shape which helps push on the glass, and this line which you line up with the score and then gently squeeze the handles. You want to leave these rubber tips on them. I accidentally threw them away and had to go grab them out of the trash. Now it's time to cut the real piece. I was so nervous to do this since the glass was a lot thicker than my test piece, but there were 2 things I learned while doing this. 1, I needed to cut the textured glass from the back or the smooth side. And 2, you want to start at the top and pull the cutter towards you rather than roll it away from you. I don't think I said what I'm creating here. This is going to be a lantern, and I wanted to add just a small bit of detail to it. So I'm using the cotton and eucalyptus transfer, again from Dixie Belle. There was a piece that looked like it would fit a corner. That was perfect to take up 1 pane of glass and then slightly wrap around onto a second. The perfect amount of detail I was looking for. These transfers were a little difficult to get onto the glass. I really had to keep rubbing over and over on the same spots, and it was just staying on the backer, not releasing to the glass. I did put the transfer onto the smooth part of the glass. I knew the ridges would be way too difficult, and I wasn't confident in how that was going to turn out. After I finally got the transfer on, I can assemble the lantern. I used a combination of E6000 and Starbond super glue this time for the instant hold, since hot glue and glass are not friends. And for the corners, I added a dowel rod. For my giveaway question, what is your decor style? I consider my style to be eclectic, but my home is a mix of boho industrial sprinkled with a little bit of vintage. Let me know down in the comments. My original plan was to add a little strap or something to the top, but after putting it together and seeing how large it is, I thought it needed a base. So looking around my craft room, I have another one of these nesting boxes from the Dollar Tree that was the perfect size. My lantern is not perfectly square, so the spacing around the sides is not even, but that's okay. I glued the glass onto the box with E6000, and that's it for this lantern. It is incredibly heavy and I'm terrified it's going to break, but fingers crossed it holds up. I found these candlesticks at a thrift store a few months ago and shared them in a haul. Today I'm finally bringing you my vision for them. They were originally from Kohl's, $25 a piece. I got the set for $15 and loved the shape. I started out giving them both a scuff sand and 2 coats of black chalk paint. Next I'm taking this magnolia transfer again and cut out one of the floral pieces that I thought would wrap nicely around the wood. Since there's so much detail and grooves on the candlesticks, I thought it would be easier to cut the transfer into smaller sections rather than trying to maneuver the whole thing around the contours. Even with cutting the transfer up, I struggled to get this on. You could see a lot of wrinkles and missing pieces all throughout. I think I should have put a top coat down first and then applied the transfer. So for the second candlestick, I thought I would try the Dollar Tree transfers on it. Since we're going for a modern look, these gold floral transfers will look stunning wrapped around the surface. However, these transfers were just as difficult to add. There's a big difference in quality here between the two. The Dollar Tree transfers will instantly stick and rub off on any surface they come in contact with, where the Dixie Belle transfers, you really have to rub them. The gold transfers are also not perfect, but I think this version looks so elegant. Which one do you prefer?